Okay, I'm back here at the border with Mexico. And just so you know, look, I mean, this Trump says, oh, they're not sending their best. These people look like very respectable people. Some of them have hard hats on, they're very well dressed. They look like very fancy people going and coming into Mexico to me. So I could just show you for a second, but, you know. I mean, these look like just normal people. I mean, normal people. It's just normal people. I mean, here, I can just show you for a second. Families, some with luggage, but they look like, not just normal, but like, how can I put it? Pretty high class people. So Trump has no idea what he's talking about. We just ate at this restaurant near the border. Oh my God, the food was incredible. It was good prices. I'm sure it was 1/10 the price of what you can eat at Trump Tower. Which he runs down the street to buy his taco bowl anyway. And the people were so nice, and spoke perfect English. They asked if we wanted them to speak if we wanted them to speak in Spanish or English. When we said we prefer English, it went much better. So nice. I mean, these neighborhoods are beautiful. He has no idea. He has no idea what he's talking about. He has no idea. Yet he employs them. Anyway, so get back to Hillary. So yes, and back to all these comparisons with these other people. Here, let's just film some of these people for a second. Well, there you go. Anyway, normal people, baby carriages, that kind of thing. Beautifully dressed people. I mean, he says they're not sending their best. Looks like they are. Schmuck. Anyway. Seriously. Yes, the most capable escape. Economic disaster and murder. Yes, the most capable. Anyway, I'm sure Trump would be running for the border if he'd been born in Mexico or Guatemala. God, and him sniffling the other day. He's probably a drug addict himself. He's probably a cocaine addict, yet he wants to arrest others for coke. Even if he was sniffing Ritalin. Big deal. Same shit. One molecule off. What a schmuck. Anyway, now, as far as Hillary goes, as I said, number one, she talks, I want to stop this affirmative action. Number two, bring all the troops home. Number three, stop all of these victimless crimes and free all the people in jail for them. Number four, well, I will build walls. She won't, although I'll let everybody stay. She hasn't agreed to that yet or not. She probably would, though. I would do it immediately, not some path to citizenship. Make it a quick path. They've been here years struggling, and because they're not legal, they can't earn the same minimum wage. So they bring down the wages. If you make everyone legal and you raise the minimum wage high to like $20 an hour, like I want to, then you have everyone doing well in our nation and in the world. I mean, we want to do economic development both in our nation and overseas. I mean, yes, we want to try to get the other nations to pay for their own economic development, the wealthy people in those nations to do so. But if they won't, then we should help. Why? Because, number one, it's the right thing to do. And number two, it'll help us too. The best way to help yourself is to help others. Both morally and, economically, it makes sense. Both ways. Both ways, it makes sense. Anyway, and what was the final thing with Hillary? Oh, well, she talks about, taxing making the wealthy pay their fair share, but that's not what her plan does. Her plan increases the income tax a few percentage points over what Obama's done. And Obama increased it a few percentage points over where it was. So what does that mean? We still have an $18 billion debt. Sorry, $1 trillion debt. $18 trillion debt. And this Iraq and Afghanistan wars probably cost $6 to $7 trillion already. By the way, forgiving all student loans would only cost about $1 trillion. So, oh, wait a second. Is that right? Yeah, I believe that's the number, $1 trillion. I want to have a $5 trillion spending plan to create 50 million new jobs. Now we have 70 million people who can't work again, but when we because of their criminal record, when we take away that criminal record by pardoning everybody who's wrongfully convicted of a victimless crime, then they'll be able to work again. But we need to have enough jobs for them. We're going to have free health care for everybody. That'll be a lot of jobs. We'll have to do massive infrastructure spending, roads, bridges, trains. I mourn those people killed today in New Jersey, in Hoboken, that horrible crash. A few killed. We don't know how many yet. Dozens, maybe over 100 injured, some horribly. I mean, if we had proper spending on infrastructure, that kind of accident would never be possible. And that's a crime that, simply because we're not willing to spend the amount that we need to spend, people die. That is a crime. I'm sorry, that's a big crime. It's a big crime. Now, as far as my... no, I'm not for high-speed trains. I never have been. Number one, they're extremely expensive, much more expensive than slower trains. And number two, they're much more dangerous. Because, I don't know if you've seen these pictures of train crashes in China, but when you have a high-speed train crash, instead of having 1 or 2 or 3 people die, everyone dies. Everyone dies on a train. Now, God forbid you have a crash, but you could have an earthquake. That alone could cause a crash. So, are you thinking straight? No, we can't do this. It's a waste of money, and it's much more dangerous. Any physicist will tell you. It's a basic physics. The faster a train goes, the more likely you are to die in it if it crashes. Sorry to tell you that. Now, that said, yes, we can make cars and trains and school buses much safer, Many ways to do that, but it's mostly going to take massive infrastructure spending of $5 trillion. Now, that includes building walls on both borders. That includes safer entry points on the ports. That includes going into a green energy economy from our current economy. So that means that we would, as I said in yesterday's video, we would have to have create free, not only free energy, but free energy sources and then distribute them throughout the world. People, this is how you create enough jobs for everyone and high-paying jobs. And then it'll come back to, that will be the catalyst to get the economy going on all cylinders, on all 12 or 20 or whatever cylinders. On all 320 million cylinders, we should say, and the whole world working. 7 billion people in the world now, and the number goes up 1 billion every few years now. We need to have a guaranteed basic minimum income in our nation and in our world. We need to make sure that not one child starves. Every day, 22,000 children starve to death. Every day. These are simple things, economic development in our nation and worldwide. But let's compare me briefly to these other candidates. Number one, Hillary wants to keep doing wars overseas. Number two, she wants to keep millions of Americans enslaved in jail. Although she says she wants to have some kind of criminal justice reform, she won't say what that means. She has said that it does not mean re-legalizing all drugs, ending drug prohibition, despite the fact that all drugs were legal throughout all of human history until the last 50 years. We've only had drug prescription for about 65 years. We've only had a real war on drugs since around 1970, although there was an international UN thing passed in 1961, and before that they had taxes on drugs. But if you notice, when they made alcohol illegal, they passed a constitutional amendment. Why? Because they did not believe that it was possible or legal for the U.S. government to attempt to make any plant or drug illegal without passing a constitutional amendment. Well, they haven't passed a constitutional amendment, so these laws that they passed are not constitutional. Just like these wars they have launched, that you have not had the Constitution requires that Congress pass an act of war in order to have a war. Well, they haven't done that since World War II. In other words, none of the wars we've had since have been legitimate. You could say, well, what about the authorization of military force passed after 9/11? You could call that an act of war, but they should have used the word war. On the other hand, that does not necessarily include people who are alive today, because those alive today are not the ones who planned 9/11. We got bin Laden. And no, we did not have to invade Afghanistan to do that. The attackers were not even from Afghanistan. And yes, they had become friends with the Taliban, but look, they had an acre of land there they were doing calisthenics and target practice on, but they didn't even need to use that in order to do their attacks here. They got most of their training. Those terrorists those evil murderers who did 9/11 got most of their training in the U.S. at our sports clubs and at our shooting ranges and at our, airport pilot school, where they only wanted to learn how to take off and not land. And nobody thought that was suspicious. Anyway, and no, these people who did 9/11 were not true believers. There was all this talk before, and most of these terrorists are not true believers. They're mostly disaffected youth or middle-aged people, but mostly younger people who aren't especially religious. Not most of them. I mean, those people who did 9/11, they were going out and getting drunk all the time. They were going to strip clubs. They even had, before, there was some heated argument. It sounds like when they had gotten their instructions and the leader of the group told the others that they were going to be dying soon, there was some screaming and yelling in a bar, and they refused to pay their bill, and they only paid the bill when they threatened to call the police. I mean, these were not dedicated people dedicated to dying, and they were not people dedicated to Islam. They had been more like indoctrinated into a political philosophy. Oh yeah, that gets me back to, sorry, for a minute. So spying is not going to work. Why do I say that? Number one, the main people that they catch are those that they entrap, who would have not necessarily gone and done any crime anyway. Number two, they go and listen to all of us, and that's just, invading our right to privacy, which we do have a right to privacy. Number three, speaking about all of that, I don't even believe that these, app companies have a right to, follow us and watch us everywhere we go. I mean, if our government is allowed to spy on us without a warrant, then how the hell are these app companies allowed to do so? And no, they shouldn't be allowed to even ask us to, especially when, you don't even read the long print. That's crazy. No, they should have no right to follow us and watch where we even go elsewhere on the web. They should have a right to watch where we go within their website, but not elsewhere on the web. I mean, when you leave, one website and they watch where you go elsewhere on the web and then send you ads for their website based on where else, that's disgusting. That's scary. That's terrifying. Nobody likes that. We're terrified by that. When, when they make cell phones without removable batteries and without removable chips, and then they follow you and track you where you go every second, and you can't even stop them, that's just pure evil. When they're starting to put devices into every car, into every refrigerator, into every home, and then you can't turn it off and you can't stop people from watching you, that is spying without a warrant. Now you could say, oh my God, well how can we know what's going on without number one, yes, we need to have we need to watch what they're doing on the internet. So, for instance, if they're trying to recruit people using a website, then that's and obviously recruiting people for violence, then that would be a case where you could watch what they're doing, or if they're trying to get a group together to commit violence, then that would be a case, or if you get word from somebody in some community, Muslim or white supremacist or whatever, that somebody is planning an attack, then you start to investigate. I mean, that's how you do it. Now, do I even believe that we should have, not only arm the citizens of our nation to protect ourselves and others against terrorism, but, as I said, have police and have troops throughout the nation protecting us. Now, that would involve having troops in every, synagogue, church, mosque, protecting us, and, ideally people of that faith to be able to pray and protect us at the same time. So if they hear something of some, preacher of some religion going off, or imam or whatever, going off promoting violence, then yes, then that would be reason to start watching more closely. But if somebody isn't advocating violence, then no. But, now, let's just be clear, though. This is quite obvious. People are pretending, for some reason, that potential terrorists are morons. And they're not morons. In other words, if they know that you're tapping their phones, they won't use phones. They'll only speak to people they have known for many years, and only in whispers, maybe only in code. I mean, and if they know that you're not tapping the phones, then they'd use the phones more. Big deal. Either way, they'll be communicating. The main trick is to make them love you more. Now, to be honest, we've been winning that battle. Most of the world is into modern culture, loves America in general, despite these wars we've done recently. MTV and McDonald's have KFC, American style, American music, American culture has not conquered the world, but we're quite influential and quite loved. I mean, and yes, we, take other cultures into our culture too. I mean, we do. I mean, techno is an international thing. Electronic dance music isn't of one nation. It's a world music, really. I love it. Anyway, dance. Anyway, so, what I'm trying to say is that these people aren't morons, and if you tap the phones, they'll use other means of communication. If you don't tap the phones, they'll use the phones. But the main way to get them to stop the attacks is to get them to love you. The main way to get them to love you is to stop attacking innocent people overseas or in our nation. Simple. This is all not rocket science. And by making the whole world and nation, giving the whole world opportunity, which means at least a great education, a decent home, decent food, and if they can't afford it, yes, you provide it for them. Decent basic income so they can have a cell phone, free internet, for everyone, really, we should have free internet. We should even have free energy, really. Once we have a government program that creates free renewable energy for the world, then yes, we should give that energy away for free. Why not? Free the people, free the people. Free the people from being wrongfully arrested and wrongfully enslaved in jail. As I said, about 12, 13, 14 million wrongful arrests a year in this nation. And then they're enslaved for part of that year, either in the jail or actually slave labor outside of the jail where they're paid 10 cents an hour, and then local businesses can't compete against that when they have to pay, whatever it is, $10, $15, $20 an hour. Can't compete versus 10, 15, 20 cents an hour. Are you kidding me? And it's been a problem. A lot of business, where any industry that the prison industrial complex has decided to enter with slave labor, their competitors have been quickly driven out of business. I believe I read about a tilapia farmer who was driven out of business. Anyway, so let me get back to the point. Hillary. So I think I finished trashing Hillary. She wants to arrest about 10 11, 12, 13, it's hard to count, million people a year, Americans a year, for wrongfully for victimless crimes. By the way, by this whole thing with drug prohibition, it also is the main cause of violence, because it not only raises the price of the drugs, but when you have, guns involved and people needing those drugs, then you have crime. Now, of course, as a worst case scenario, we can give away the drugs for free. It's better than crime. Better than crime. Then how do we treat drug addiction? Well, you provide people with jobs, or at the very least a guaranteed minimal income, and free health care, which would include free drug treatment if they want it. Simple. Now, personally, do I recommend that anybody be on any of these drugs? No. I am horrified that, millions, tens of millions of American children, not to mention adults, are put on Ritalin, which is just, or Adderall, which is just synthetic cocaine every year. I mean, that is a crime. It's a crime. It's crime. And do I believe people should go to jail for that? No, but I just think it's horrible. I just think that, many children are naturally hyperactive, what you call, or I would just call children. And, leave them alone. Now, the problem is, yes, often school is boring. Often they're not challenged in school, or alternatively, they are not given enough attention, don't have enough teachers per student, and they fall behind, and then it just becomes intolerable for them, and they act up because of that. Now, there is the other issue of, you want standing desks, you want many breaks during the day, you want recess to be allowed, all these different things. Okay, I have to go. I will speak to you all soon. Love you all. I will get back to you in a few minutes. I will record another round. Love you all. I could use a slight drink of water. Okay, love you. Talk to you soon. Thank you for all you do. I know you all work very hard and give your all every second towards our nation and world, and love you all so much. Just want to help. So please elect me president. Fred Schultz for president. Write in. Love you. And tell the pollsters, or else we won't get anywhere. Okay, thanks. Love you. Talk to you soon. Bye.